Hi there, this is Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking in the Human Design Weather about Gate 43, which is all about breakthroughs. So we start with the sun in Gate 43. It started on the morning of November 11th, and it goes until November 16th, late in the day. And we've got the Earth in the Gate 23. So this is one of those weeks where the 43 being in the sun and the 23 being in the Earth makes a channel. It makes its own complete channel. And so it lights up both the Ajna, the green triangle, and the throat all week. And so everybody's going to have that defined as well, starting actually today, the 11th. We have this G connected to the sacral because the 2 and the 14 are both gates that are also in transit. So we've got the 2 in Uranus, and then we've got, which has been there for a while now, and then we've got the 14 coming into Venus. And and I think it's also coming into Mercury a little later in the week. So anyway, this 2 and the 14 are going to be lit up all week, which means all week. So it means all week that people are going to have both the 2 and the 14, or that entire channel defined, which is the channel of the beat. And the 2 is all about resources, and the 14 is all about money. So it's a nice channel to have. And but that sacral will be defined for everybody this week. And we've still got a number of planets for retrograde: Jupiter and Mars, Uranus and Neptune. So this Gate 43 is all about breakthroughs. It's about insights and coming up with different ways of looking at things. It's a very individual energy. This entire channel, the channel of structuring, is very individual. And in the book, they say, in order for achievement to be maintained, a new order must be fairly established. And so what that means is that you come up with a new idea, but the new order has to be established around it, right? It's like it's a process, but it has to be established and maybe take a while to get used to. The incarnation crosses this week are the crosses of explanation, insight, and dedication. And then in the Gate 23, we've got the Gate of assimilation. This is where you take those breakthroughs from the Gate 43 and you assimilate them, or you allow yourself to talk about them in a way that makes sense for people. And they actually call it amorality. It's the awareness and understanding which leads to the acceptance of diversity, because these, again, are very individual ideas. They're very unique ideas. And they're usually the kind of ideas that people come up with. And sometimes they sound right, and sometimes they don't. It has to do with the timing. We call this channel of structuring freak to genius. And it's freakish when it's in the wrong timing, and it's genius when it's in the right timing. So that's very important for this kind of energy to be speaking at, they can speak whenever they want to, obviously, but when they speak in the right timing, then everybody thinks what they're saying is amazing. And it can be discouraging, of course, when they speak in the wrong timing. In the Gene Keys, complexity is the shadow, simplicity is the gift, and quintessence is the CD. So in this Gene Key 43, here the shadow is deafness, the gift is insight, and the CD is the epiphany. And in the graphic, Richard says, when you love totally, unconditionally, even chance is shown to be an illusion, and the underlying cosmic geometry is revealed behind all things. And he's using this description and the picture, the graphic, to talk about epiphany. And he also says life is a mystery in which chance and love are dancing together. So it's really about, Gene Key 43 can be really unusual, and it can be very unique, and it can be very different kind of way of looking at things, but it's still a mystery, right? It's still this life is a mystery where chance and love are dancing together. And so they get to dance together. And when we allow love to be in our lives and to be in the flow of things, then it's like a dance, right? And I think that's what he means by that. And so with the 43rd CD, the only thing you know is that you know absolutely nothing. Because again, this channel can be thought of as kind of the know-it-all. This is the kid with this channel, growing up with this channel, somebody who's born with this channel, or especially if it's in the sun, in their sun sign. It's the kind of thing where they're in the back of the room saying, I know, I know, I know, and they're raising their hand, right? And everybody knows those kids. This is that energy. And so it's very much about knowing, but on the shadow side, it's about deafness because it's very much an auditory channel. And when they are speaking, sometimes they don't know when to stop. Sometimes they just want to talk and talk and talk, and they don't know when to stop. And so that's why he calls the shadow part of this deafness, because they are talking so much. The deafness is keeping them from really being in the moment and being with someone else in a conversation as opposed to just talking and talking. The gift here is insight, and the insights do come because the 43 is very, very much, kind of the universe and always having these breakthroughs, always getting ideas, and always allowing, always at least being in the possibility of sharing them with other people. So, and the CD is the epiphany, where the epiphanies really come, and they're spoken and they're articulated and they're eventually assimilated with whoever you're around. So we have a number of personalities this week, including King Charles III, who we'll be talking about in a moment. These people have the right angle cross of explanation or insight or dedication, and they're pretty bright people. Some of them are actors and actresses, but we've also got Auguste Rodin, who was a famous sculptor and artist, Claude Monet, George O'Keeffe, Louis Brandeis, who was one of the first Supreme Court justices, Neil Young, the musician, Robert Louis Stevenson, the poet, Whoopi Goldberg, actress and talk show host now, Grace Kelly, Ryan Gosling, a lot of different people, a lot of different energies, but very, very bright people overall. And that's one thing that you can always presume, that the people with the 2343 or the 4323, however you want to say it, are really bright people. I've never met anyone who didn't come across as being very bright. Whether it's school taught or not, it doesn't really make a difference with the 4323. They're here to say something. They're here to make a difference, and they're here to get it across. And so let's see what King Charles is up to. So he was born on November 14th of 1948. He's going to turn 74 years old this week, and he's was born in London, England. Of course, he's a generator with a 4-6 profile. So it's a rather outgoing profile. And, from what we know about him, he's had a very public life of a sort. And yet we really don't know a lot about him. And we don't know a lot about his personal preferences and things like that. So he does have the right angle cross of explanation. He'll probably be very good at explaining things, when he gets to that point. And of course, he's the monarch of the United Kingdom and 14 Commonwealth realms. And he only became king since his mother passed on September 8th. So it's been a long time coming, as you can imagine, and he's been waiting. I think they said that he's waited the longest of any monarch to become the actual king. And he's waited quite a long time because his mother had such a long life, living to 96. So he's now 73 and just about to be 74, and he's become king. So what happens when you have somebody who's so bright, obviously well-educated, he's not had much of a voice because he is a generator. He does have the throat defined, but he's got no connections at all, except for the 4323. So that's kind of interesting in and of itself, right? The only stuff that's going to come out of his mouth is going to be through that 4323. So he's going to have ideas in his head, be inspired by other people, and then come to conclusions about them through the 4, which is all about answers, and the 24, which is about rationalization. And then they're going to come down through the 4323. He'll have a breakthrough, and then he'll be able to articulate it somehow to the people. Now, this has happened for a long time without any authority, right? He's always been basically in the background, listening to his mother, doing what his parents said, even to the ripe old age of 73, until he just became king. And so now he's on his own and he can do what he wants. And he does have a number of other things going on here besides this connection, which, by the way, is a split definition. He a lot of times won't even know what's up in his head. until he speaks it, or up in the Ajna until he speaks it, until he's asked the question. So don't be surprised if some funny things pop out of his mouth. And also don't be surprised because he has this will center defined, the sacral defined, and the root defined. He's got a lot of energy. He'll probably be doing exactly what he wants to do. And he'll be willful about it, but with integrity, because the only channel has here is the channel, ironically, of surrender, but it's also the channel of the salesperson. So it's all about meeting the right people and having the right people surrounding him in his work, and then also being able to speak with integrity and to persuade people with integrity, or to educate them in a way that makes sense. And so this 43 and 23 are up in his incarnation cross. That's the cross of explanation. And he'll be able to have the breakthroughs and then speak to people about them. But he's also got the answers, and they're going to be based on principles, because he's got the 4 in his unconscious sun and the 49, which is all about principles, in his unconscious earth. And so I suspect that when he does speak, it's going to be with integrity and with answers and based on his principles. And he's not emotional. As you can see, he's got an open emotional or open solar plexus. And the only gate he's got off here is the 49. So he's very much going to be about his own principles. And don't be surprised if he starts to mix things up a bit, because he knows his direction. He has the G defined. He knows what would feel good to him. He's got the spleen defined. He's very rooted. He's got the root defined, and you can depend on him, and he's very reliable. But he also has the 360, which is all about evolution and growth. And, the 3, more than anything else, the 3 shows that he had some trouble at the beginning of his life in terms of waiting and waiting and waiting to be king. But he's definitely evolved through that, and he will be somebody who can make the changes if he wants to make them. He also has this channel of the perfected form, as we call it. He was involved in the military for a while, but did not have any active roles. But he would be someone to follow. Basically, if you were in trouble. He's got this 57, which is all about intuition, and it goes into the 10, which is the gate of self-love or empowerment. And he is someone who basically, I call this the Navy SEAL channel, and it's for somebody who is, it's the person you would want to follow out of a tricky condition, let's call it. And he's got that. So he'll be able to lead people in a way that will feel good. Now, he may not do it for very long. Who knows, if he'll cede his authority to his son. But he also does have the gate of the 15, and he's got it twice in his chart, down here in Uranus, both conscious and unconscious. So it's going to be a little unusual, but he definitely has this love of humanity. And so he is very much about the environment. He's, loves the animals. He loves nature. He very much, followed in his mother's footsteps in terms of being in nature and liking nature, and, playing polo and things like that. But he has this love of humanity that is not going to, that will hold him in good stead as the king. Let's see, what else does he have? The gate of 29, the gate of commitment. So he's going to be very serious about his commitments. 27 is all about responsibility. So again, there he'll feel the responsibility. He's also got conscious and unconscious, the gate of intimacy and seduction. 39 is the gate of provocation. He can be provocative sometimes. And then the 28 is the gate of struggle, which, usually goes away after 40 years old. And, as we know, he did have some issues and some struggles earlier on with his first marriage to Diana, but now he seems happily married to Kamala. And then he's got the gate 48 over here, which is the gate of depth, DEPTH, which means that he's not going to step into the forefront very quickly. He's still going to take his time and make sure that he has all his, I's dotted and his T's crossed. but he does have this gate 7, which is the gate of leadership, and it is democratic leadership, where it is the kind of thing where he's invited into something, and he definitely has been invited into this as the King of England. So, one other thing he has is in his Chiron, which comes in after 50, is the 14, which is all about money, and the 43, which again is that breakthroughs. So perhaps there'll be some breakthroughs in money. He certainly has done very well with the money that he's inherited and garnered throughout his life. And I'll just say one last thing about the 4-6. He does like to be friends with people before he is in business with them or in relationship with them at all. And then the 6 is where he's a role model. So it's a rather outgoing personality, but he is still a generator, and so he needs to be invited to speak and invited to talk. But of course, that happens quite easily when you're the King of England. So I think he'll be in his element and really finding a way to be in his element, in his own skin, in his own way, and perhaps making some changes. As I understand, he's already made a few changes, and I wouldn't be surprised if he made a number more. So that's King Charles III, and happy birthday, King Charles, on the 14th, which will be celebrated with a number of salutes, apparently, and then officially celebrated next summer, as they usually do with the Trooping of the Colors, as they used to do for Queen Elizabeth. So I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a number of breakthroughs yourself this week, and I hope you're able to show what you know and show your own insights and share your insights with people in a way that makes a difference. So have a great week, and I will see you next time. Be well.